Hello lovely people, and welcome to this week's video. So if you haven't seen me before and you haven't worked with my videos before, I'm just going to warn you that this is the last one of a 10-week sequence of doing postures and balances and finding our way. So if you're joining this for the first time, it's absolutely fine just to do this video, but if you want to have a sense of what we've been doing, you can just look back on my list and see where it came from. And before we get going, if you like what I'm doing, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you're not already. And a comment, of course, is really good and really helps my ratings. So we're going to begin by just making some lovely movements to warm ourselves up. So we're going to open the arms wide and then give ourselves a hug. We always start these videos with this, opening the arms wide and giving ourselves a hug the other way. And then over this way, we're then going to keeping the elbows together. See if you can bring the backs of the hands facing each other and feel how that opens the top of the back. We can raise the arms up a bit to increase that a little bit, opening again and coming back the other way. So giving yourself a hug first and then opening the backs of the hands to face each other, raising the arms up a little bit. So that's modified eagle arms. So I've just turned around so that you can see what we're doing now. We're going to do some cat and cow but seated. So just in a comfortable position. You might be on a chair, you might be sitting on a block or whatever. So we're going to just sit here with our hands onto the knees, and we're going to inhale, taking the navel forward, looking up slightly, and then exhale, taking the spine back and looking down between the knees. So just working with that a few times, 3 or 4 times each way, seeing if you can really get the spine mobilizing. Beautiful. So from here, I'm going to invite you to come and lie down on the mat. So we're coming into semi-supine. So lie down like this on the mat with your knees bent, heels behind the bottom. And we're going to bring the arms out at shoulder height. And from here, we're going to take one leg and cross it over the other one as if you were sitting in a chair. Or you might be sitting in a chair, so you might be doing this from a chair. And then from here, we're going to exhale and drop the knees over, sort of continuing that movement down to the side and then looking over the other way. Coming back up to the centre, uncrossing the legs, crossing over the other way. And we're going to drop the knees down that way. Beautiful. Taking a moment there. And then we're going to come back through. And we're going to take the legs the first way, but this time we're not going to go down to the side. We're going to do what we did a minute ago, which is to give ourselves a big hug, but make sure that the opposite arm is on top. So the opposite arm is closer to your face. And then we're going to come back into our either modified Garudasana arms here with the backs of the hands together, or if you can get into the full pose where you're bringing the palms together, that's great. And from here we're going to see if we can drop this upper foot, drop it down and backwards. Some people can hook it behind. If you can do that, I'm kind of getting there, but I can't really do that. So just doing what you can do. And from here we're going to raise the arms up. Feel how that really opens the backs of the shoulders from there. And then we're going to open, uncross the legs, cross them the other way and cross the arms the other way. So the other arm on top and coming into your Garudasana arms the other way. And then seeing if you can bring that top foot back towards the body, and if you can take it underneath, doing that. And then from there we're going to rise the arms up towards the top of the head, opening the shoulders. Beautiful, fantastic. So from here, we're going to take one leg long along the ground, and we're going to bring the other foot so it's as close to the other leg as possible, and then drop that knee out to the side. Bring the arms up, coming into cactus arms. We're in our tree on the ground here. So this is just a preparation for the tree that we're going to do later. So then we can swap over. So leave the arms where they are, taking the other foot down, bring that foot up to the side of the leg and then drop it to the outside. Couple of breaths there, pushing through the heel of the lower leg. Beautiful. And then just coming back to semi-supine. So from here, we're going to roll over onto the front. So I'm going to invite you to come all the way over. We're going to come into our Sphinx here. Elbows under the shoulders, fingers spread wide, palms of the hands rooting down through the earth. Beautiful. And then I'm going to invite you to lift up one foot. It doesn't matter which one you do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try and grab this foot with the same hand. So it might be that you need to have a belt here. You can bring the opposite elbow in a bit to help you reach round, and grabbing hold of that foot, you can take it from the inside or the outside, it doesn't matter which. And then we're going to see if we can take the gaze back to the front and just doing what you can do, bringing that the foot in towards the bottom. And what I didn't say is trying to keep the knees as close together as possible. So this is really opening for the front of the thigh, and we're trying to keep the front of the pelvis down to the ground. And then dropping back, we're going to swap over to the other side, just doing what's right for you. Don't do anything I say unless it is right for you. And this side might feel completely different. It does to me. I'm feeling a lot more stiff this side. Try and make sure that the knees are kind of close-ish together. Trying to see if you can drop the front of the pelvis down, and then just doing what you can. So I can't really bring this leg as close this side. Beautiful. So from here we're going to come into our broken wing. So we're going to bring one forearm so it's across the front of the body like this, pushing onto the opposite arm to send yourself over backwards. So we're rolling on the pelvis, and we are putting that foot down on the other side of that leg, and then we're going to open this arm and look backwards along the arm. Beautiful. And then coming back through, we're going to do it on the other side. So again, forearm across the front of the body, pushing on the other arm to lift you up and opening into this beautiful open shape here. And then coming back, joining me back in the Sphinx. And then from here, we're just going to take our time to find our way up into the dog. So however you find your way doing that, and we're coming into this beautiful gentle inversion here, knees slightly bent, spreading the fingers wide and seeing if you can drop the shoulders down, keeping a nice bend in the knees. Couple of breaths here. And then we're going to walk hands towards feet, feet towards hands, coming up into our Uttanasana here, letting go of the whole of the top of the body for a moment. And then we're going to come up to a flat back, so we're going to straighten the legs and bring the hands onto the shins here, seeing if you can really embody this flat back shape here. Then from here we're going to bend the knees a little bit and just see if you can bring the arms out. So this feels quite intense for me, so I might just take one out and then put that back and then take the other one out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend my knees more to take the other one out, and that's a bit easier. And then from here we're going to drop back into the chair, so as if we're going to sit in a chair, and take the arms up, and then we're going to find our way up to our standing Tadasana. So we're going to just look at the different elements of the sequence, and we're going to look at the transitions. So we're going to start in our Warrior One. So the first few postures and their transitions are very simple, and then it gets a bit harder once we get into the balances. So we're going to start by stepping forwards. It doesn't really matter which way you do it, which leg you use, into your Warrior One, nice and wide, so almost as wide as the mat. And we can start by really dropping the hands down, so we're like rooting down through the middle fingers. And so we're then going to transition up into our Warrior One here, trying to keep everything rooting down and rising up. And then from here we're opening, so we're going to open to our Warrior Two. So you're really trying to see if you can, from this shape here of being very forward, see if you can bring the whole of the body to open up towards the front, but you're keeping your gaze going that way. So let's go back through Warrior One and just see how that feels. So we're really all facing forward as much as possible here, and then as we exhale, the gaze is still facing forward, but we are trying to bring as much of the body to face towards, or I'm trying to do that towards you as much as I can. We'll do that once more. So inhaling up and exhaling down. Beautiful. So the next transition is when we're going to come into our Peaceful Warrior. So this is where we're going to flip this front palm, and then we're literally taking a big side bend, which is kind of like a back side bend. So we're just trying to keep the arms where they are and rocking the whole body backwards. So this arm ends up coming down onto the back of this leg, and we're looking up at the top arm. So let's just go back to Warrior Two, and then we'll flip that arm and then feel ourselves really dropping backwards, but we're trying to keep the weight equal in the legs as we make that transition. And then once we're here, the next transition is that we're going to bring this back arm up and bring it back into Warrior One. So that's where you feel this real change between the side position and the back position. So if we take that one back, going back into the Peaceful Warrior, you can feel how that opens the chest. So it's opening it out to the side again and looking up here, but we're really feeling ourselves really open and bending backwards. So then when we bring the arm back up again on the inhale, feeling how the whole of the body moves to the front there. Beautiful. So that's the simple warriors that we're doing at the beginning of the sequence. And then this is when it starts to get a little bit more difficult. So from this, we're going to then come into our Garudasana, eagle. And this is where we start to balance. So, you know, it's really useful to have a chair, if you've got one, to have one at hand to help you. You can have it there or you can have it at the side. I've got a wall here that's quite useful. So I'm in my place here. I'm in my Warrior One position, which I've come back to from my Peaceful Warrior. And from here, I'm going to kind of bounce forward and see if I'm going to try and bring this back leg all the way around to touch the floor next to my other foot. So let's have a go. So from here, as we inhale, we can spread the arms a little bit, bring this foot so it comes all the way around, and then bend the standing leg so that I've got this foot here. You can't see it properly because I'm doing it on the wrong side, but you've got this foot on the toes on the ground. I've opened up like this. I've got my painting in the way here, but I've opened up like this so that now I know which leg is on top. So I'm going to bring the opposite arm on top, coming into these arms that we've been doing, opening up into the Garudasana arms, and then, if it feels good, to lift up that foot. So let's try it on the other side. Coming away from the chair, we're just going to get into the other. So from our warrior one position, inhaling, opening the arms, bringing this foot all the way around, and as it comes around, I'm going to bend the lower leg and put these toes on the ground, and then just being aware of which leg is on top, taking the other arm on top. I've got this foot to balance myself, or I could just hold on here and you do one hand. So coming up into whichever version of Garudasana arms you do, and then once you're here, then lifting that foot if it works for you, keeping the lower leg bent. Well done. So the next position that we come to from our Garudasana then is into the tree. And I'm going to actually turn to face you to do this, just so that we get a sense of how this is. So this is like we've come from the warrior one, and we've come into this very closed position, and then we're going to immediately, or after a breath or two, we're then going to immediately come into the tree, which is the opposite, the very open. So from here, let's just get into the Garudasana. So you can just make sure your lower leg is bent, taking the toes of the other foot, making sure you've got the right arms in the right place. So we're in our Garudasana. You can keep that one down if that helps you. And then from here, and then from here we're going to open to the tree. So this is, we open the arms, and then we bring this foot all the way back and round. And it might be that you just decide to hold it like this. I know one of my students has been doing this. Because, it's like we don't want the foot on the knee. It's quite hard to get it all the way up here. You can if you want. This is good. Or you can even have it down with the foot resting on the ground, and then do whatever you like with your hands. So let's do that on the other side. So again, we're going to get into our Garudasana, eagle pose. So lower leg is bent, top leg is on the knee and resting on the toes, opening the arms, making sure you have the correct arms on top, arm on top, into your Garudasana position, raising the foot if that works for you. And then we're going to try and do this tree. So opening up the hands, bringing that leg to wherever it feels good. I can't lift it up to the top on this side. So I've got a little chin mudra with my fingers here, and I'm trying to come into a place of presence. So I've turned this way again to show you the next transition. So the next transition is we're going from the tree pose, we're then going into warrior three. So it doesn't really matter which way you do it, but so we can just get ourselves into our tree position. I'm going to do it actually with the toes on the ground, just as a way of showing. So from here, we're going to make sure that the standing leg is a little bit bent, and we're going to take the other foot out behind. So I've still got the toes on the ground, And if I've got a chair by me, I could put my hands, so we're not leaning on the chair, but just having the chair there as a sort of helping hand. So I'm in this kind of leaned over forward position. Or of course, I could just have the arms up like this. And then warrior 3 is where we lift the back foot and we're pushing into the heel and we're trying to come over forwards, making sure there's a slight bend in that front knee. I've seen so many pictures online of people doing this with their knee almost bent backwards, which is really bad practice. So a soft lower knee. And I've got my chair here. You saw me then. I was just using it to help me to balance. And beautiful. So from this place, we're then going to come into half moon. So I'm going to actually, as just a demonstration tool, I'm going to turn the chair round the other way. And this is just, you know, so you can play around with these things. You can pause the video and play around and see what works. So again, so we've been in our warrior 3 here. So a really good modification for half moon is to put the hands down onto a chair like this. So I'm still in this same position here. And this is great because it can really help with the balance, because it means you're about the same level. It really does help. Again, trying to keep this lower legs very slightly bent or soft. And from here, we're going to raise the top arm. Now you can always have this foot down if it feels a bit much, or raising or keeping that back foot raised. Top arm, whoops, she says, top arm is facing up to the sky and I'm looking forward. So this is a lovely modification for this, and if you want to try the full pose, you can just see if you can just bring your hand off the chair. Oh, I'm still needing it here, you see, to balance me, making sure that the lower leg is bent. What I haven't mentioned is bandhas. So Uddiyana Bandha in the centre of the abdomen is really good to help with the balance. Lovely. And then coming down. I mean, it really is quite an intense balance, that. So well done if you're giving it a go. Okay, so we're nearly up to the very last pose. So we're going to I'm going to show you again, coming from the modification with the chair, because actually I need it. I'm showing you then coming back through the warrior 1 leg, so not the arms but just the legs, before we then come up into the dancer. So we can bring ourselves back into half moon pose, taking the foot back to begin. I always like to bring the arm up first, making sure this leg is nice and bent. Bandhas, Uddiyana Bandha in the centre of the body to really help with the balance. So we're from here. So then coming into the dancer from here, all we're going to do is we're going to bend the front leg, dropping back down, and we kind of come back through our warrior 1 legs and our warrior 1 stance. And then we're going to do this little bounce. So we're going to bounce forward and see if we can grab the lower leg, bringing the knees together. So we've got knees together here. If you need something to hold on, you could turn your chair around, hold on to the wall. I've got a lovely wall here, just doing what's right for you. And then once you're here, notice I'm still standing up very tall, threads coming out through the top of the head, opening the chest. And before I take the arm forward, I'm going to see if I can take the leg back a little bit, remembering I'm not coming out like this. So as we come into this, we're going to try and see if we can remember all these things about the different places and remember the bandha. So coming from here, finding your half moon, whichever version of it you're doing. Maybe you're doing the full pose because you're better at balancing than me. And then we're going to bend the front knee, drop back into our warrior 1 legs and stance. And then we're going to bounce forward. See if we can grab hold of the leg, bringing the knees together. And then we're going to take the knee out behind, keeping the pelvis coming forward and bringing the other hand forward. Nice, soft, lower knee. So I'm going to try and do the sequence on both sides, and I'll talk as we're doing it so you can do it along with me, and you can use your chair or your wall or your blocks or whatever you need. So I have these two blocks here, and I'm going to start here facing towards this way, doing it on the left. So I'm standing towards the back of the mat, and I'm going to step forward with my left foot, stepping back slightly with my right, coming into my warrior one legs. And again, reaching down and then reaching up into warrior one. Exhaling, opening to warrior two, looking along the front arm, looking along the back arm, looking along the front arm. Take a look down, make sure you can still see your big toe. And then from here, we're going to flip the front palm and bending backwards into our peaceful warrior. Then inhaling and bringing that arm forward so that our body comes forward again. And then from here, we're going to inhale, bounce forward, taking this foot all the way over into our Garudasana legs with my lower leg bent, and then I'm crossing the arms, so I've got the opposite arm on top coming into the Garudasana arms, raising the bottom foot, and then I'm going to open to whichever version of my tree I feel like doing. On this side I can do the full version, and then from here I'm going to see if I can just take my leg straight back into warrior three here. And then I'm going to drop my hands down. I think I need to drop my leg down as well. Opening up into my half moon top of my body, and then I'm going to try and see if I can raise the back leg as well. Beautiful. And then dropping back down into our warrior one legs before I bounce forward, seeing if I can lift the back leg, holding onto the wall if I need to. And then I'm going to push into the back leg, trying to keep everything forward and taking the other arm forward. Beautiful. Let's try it on the other side. So I've moved my blocks to the right side, and so I'm going to step forward with my right, step back with my left, rooting down through the hands, and then inhaling up to warrior one, opening to warrior two, flipping the front palm and reaching backwards and upwards. Inhale, bringing the arm back up to the top, everything's going forward, and then I'm going to try and bounce through into my Garudasana legs, bending the lower leg, and then exhale, making sure I've got the right one on top before I then open and close into the arms, and then I can raise the lower leg, upper leg even. And then inhale, opening to my version of the tree, which as you can see I'm not as good at on this side. I've got it on my lower leg. Beautiful. And then I'm going to take my arms forward and my raised leg backwards. Lower leg is slightly bent, warrior three. And then I'm going to see if I can't do it, so I'm going to drop down, I'm going to bring both legs down, take that leg to the back, raising up that arm, and then if I feel confident enough, raising the other leg up, and then dropping back through into my warrior one legs, before I then bounce forward, grabbing hold of that foot, knees together to begin with, remember, then taking that foot back before I bring the arm forward. Beautiful. So there we go. That's the whole sequence. So from here, I'm going to invite you to come down onto the mat for a little relaxation. So coming into semi-supine again, and we can bring the legs up over the body, arms out to shoulder height, dropping the legs down, looking over the other way. And then coming back the other way, looking over the other side. Beautiful. And then we'll just bring the heels back to just behind the bottom, palms of the hands down, and we're going to inhale, raising up, curling up the tailbone, coming up into a bridge pose. And then from here, I'm just going to invite you to do whatever you like. So I'm going to have a long stretch here, but you can do whatever you want to. And then we're going to find our Tadasana. So let the legs drop out to the sides, arms coming down by the sides of the body, slightly away with the palms facing up. And we're going to be here just allowing ourselves to drop into the mat for a few moments. So, as I always say, this is definitely the most important pose of the whole practice. Stay here for as long as you want to. Beautiful. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your support. If you're not coming to class and you would like to support me, I'm really open for donations. My email is at the beginning and the end of the video, so you're welcome to contact me. You're welcome to contact me about anything. So thank you so much for joining me. May you have peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart, gratitude for Mother Earth. Namaste.